Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Night School comes on every night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for joining me on Night School tonight, even though we got started a little bit late. Let me tell y'all something. I love y'all. I really love y'all, man. I have had one of the most trying and exhausting days of my life, or at least in years. I don't want to be too dramatic. And normally, if it were anybody but y'all, I would have called it a night, went to bed, and got up tomorrow. But I said, no matter how late it is, y'all stay up, y'all show up, y'all show so much love that I got to do the same. So I wanted to make sure that I showed up for night school. And honestly, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy building with y'all. I'm enjoying the conversation. And as you all can see, over the last few weeks, the community has grown dramatically. Our reach is expanding widely. It's late at night on the East Coast, and people are still on live with us. And the fact that we can get so many people here live, and many of you will watch it in the morning and throughout the day tomorrow. It's just a reminder of what's possible when we build community here, y'all. So I'm just grateful for y'all. I'm even grateful for the haters out there. And I see the haters in the audience. And some of y'all tune in every single night just to hate. It is actually remarkable. I have never had that much of a commitment to hate on somebody that I set an appointment, stay up late, make notes, pay a membership sometimes just to show up and tell somebody what's wrong with them every day. Man, I would do something else in my life. But look, do your thing, man. I'm happy to have y'all here. I'm happy to have you as members. I'm happy to have you as subscribers. I'm happy to have you as an audience because we are growing and we are growing fast. By the way, I'm rocking my Philadelphia shirt. You know why I'm rocking the Philadelphia shirt? I'm rocking the Philadelphia shirt because Philadelphia is in a great position. This is really like from the roots and OK Play and my people out there. Shout out to OK Play and shout out to the roots. But it's not just music that makes me love to be from the Philadelphia. It's also sports right now. The Phillies have the best record in baseball. The Sixers just got Paul George and re-signed a bunch of talent. The Eagles, I'm still boycotting the NFL, but the Eagles could win a Super Bowl next year. You know what I'm saying? The Flyers, we're not where we want to be, but we're getting there. So anyway, all that to say, I'm happy to be from Philly. I'm happy to be here with y'all. But we got a lot of serious stuff we need to talk about. And I want to make sure that we get there and we get there soon. I think the most important news, not the most important news, but the biggest news coming out of the Supreme Court is from AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the members of the squad and one of the most significant stars of the Democratic Party, and certainly of the left wing of the Democratic Party, to the extent that there is one. She said that she plans to impeach members of the Supreme Court. Yesterday, of course, there was a historic ruling by the Supreme Court on presidential immunity that effectively gives the president, and in this case, it seems like they were really thinking about Donald Trump, a level of criminal immunity that effectively says that if he is doing government business, if he is operating as commander-in-chief, if he is occupying his official capacity as president, that there's very little you can do to hold him criminally accountable. Most of us in the world who are thinking or who like democracy said that this is a gross encroachment on the spirit of the Constitution, that it undermines democracy, that it basically, as Ketanji Brown Jackson said in her dissenting opinion, makes the president like a king, and that's not what we want. So in response, some of us protested, some of us wrote nasty letters, some of us talked on our podcasts. Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez announced plans to file articles of impeachment against the justices. If you look on X, AOC posted her thoughts. She posted her comments. And when you look at them, you can see that she means business. She said the Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. An assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return. This is serious business from AOC. Now, she hasn't named who she wants to see removed, but it's worth noting that 3 of the 6 appointees to the Supreme Court are Trump appointees. You got Neil Gorsuch, you got Brett Kavanaugh, and you got Amy Coney Barrett. 2 of them have ties to Donald Trump's Stop the Steal movement. Say, Clarence Thomas, who seems to always be tied up in some ridiculousness, and Samuel Alito. The argument for impeachment, it's not just about presidential immunity. It comes on the heels of several rulings in which the conservative majority just gutted key precedents. That includes the Dobbs decision. I don't think we can talk about the Dobbs decision enough. Roe v. Wade was endorsed by Trump's conservative justices as the law of the land during their confirmation hearings. They said that they respected the law of the land. So what does it mean? I wish I had a complicated answer for you, but I don't. It means they lied. What are the chances any of them are really going to be impeached, right? Like, AOC is going to do this. She's going to move forward with this. And it seems unlikely that they'll be impeached. Certainly not this term, given the political makeup of the Senate. You would need Democrats to take back the House. You would need Democrats to hold the Senate. And you would have to hope that Donald Trump loses in November. I don't see Trump losing in November right now. I don't see Democrats holding on to the Senate necessarily. They could. And I certainly don't see them taking back the House. So the question then becomes, is this all a waste of time? Is this just a publicity stunt? Is this just AOC getting attention for herself? I don't think so. I think that this matters. I think that for every action, there has to be a reaction from us. And the reaction can't just be podcasts and blogs and tweets. It can't even just be protest marches. We need to operate within the system that they're using to dismantle our rights and dismantle our liberation struggles, to dismantle our advances. We got to push back in those same systems. Don't yield that ground to them. That doesn't mean that we're going to impeach our way to justice or liberation. It doesn't mean that we're just going to, manufacture legislation that's going to get us free. That's not true. We're not. But it absolutely is a tactic that can help us get further than where we are right now. So shout out to AOC for doing that. I'm glad Democrats are finally pushing back a little bit. The problem is there has to be a longer term plan than this. Yesterday, Elie Mystal was on the show and he was talking about court packing to maybe turn the tide. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think stuffing the court and expanding the court is going to actually make things better. But I do think that we at the very least need a tactic, but that's connected to an overarching strategy. And until we frame and articulate that strategy, we're going to continue to be prisoner to Project 2025. We're going to be prisoner to the whims and wishes of a right-wing court. We got to do something. So again, AOC doing this to me is important, but we need her colleagues to have her back. We need her colleagues to stand up and do something different as well. Anyway, let's talk just a little bit about Representative Jim Clyburn. If you don't know Jim Clyburn is one of the most influential members of the Congressional Black Caucus. He's he's a representative out of South Carolina. And Representative Clyburn is probably the reason that Donald Trump is president. That Joe Biden is president. Woo! Don't get me started. It's late, but it ain't that late. When it looked like Bernie could win the nomination, when it looked like America didn't know what direction to go in, and the Democratic Party was split up over who to vote for in the primary in 2020, it was Jim Clyburn who stood up. It was Jim Clyburn who organized South Carolina. And so when you go from Iowa to New Hampshire to South Carolina, suddenly Joe Biden is on a hot streak that can't be stopped because of Jim Clyburn. So he's somebody who should be seen as an authority on the Biden campaign, somebody who has a deep investment in the Biden presidency. Well, Jim Clyburn, that South Carolina congressman, said something very interesting. Jim Clyburn, again, it's important to say just how important Jim Clyburn is to this. Jim Clyburn said he would support Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket if President Biden, quote, ain't there. Now, why would he be saying that at all? You might be asking. Well, of course, Democrats are in a tizzy. They're in panic mode. In fact, they're not in a tizzy. They're in panic mode after the debate. President Biden had a terrible showing. Other information has come out since. You have people, investigative reporters, your Biden administration insiders saying, look, he has some slippage. He shows moments of weakness. Now, he looks great in national press briefings, national security briefings, excuse me. He looks great in lots of places. I'm not saying that he's weekend at Bernie's over here, but there are many people who have deep skepticism about President Biden's fitness for office. There are reports saying that even President Obama, former President Obama, has some concerns, if not about Biden's mental fitness, certainly about his ability to win this election. It's a long, grueling process, and he's not sure he's up for it. So lots of people are starting to weigh in about whether Biden can do this. And let's be clear, Jim Clyburn didn't say Biden can't do this. Jim Clyburn has effectively said something different. Jim Clyburn has said that the party should, quote, stay the course, that the Democrats should stay with Biden. He said, but, if you don't stay the course, if things go sideways, he's going to back Kamala Harris. Now, this may seem like much ado about nothing. And if you read this in the most literal sense, it will feel like much ado about nothing. You're going to say, well, what are you talking about, Mark? Jim Clyburn simply said that he supports the Biden-Harris ticket. He simply says that he's going to support the Biden-Harris ticket no matter what. He simply said that Biden should keep going, but just in case they don't, you go with Harris. When in history have you seen a major member of the incumbent president's party say, yeah, I want this person to stay president, and I want this person to keep campaigning, and I don't want them to drop out. But if they do, let me tell you who I want to replace them. You don't do that, right? You don't say, hey, yeah, I would never divorce you, baby, but if I did, here's who I might want to date. Don't do that. Don't do that, brothers and sisters. Don't do that. That will make your night, your life, your week, your month, your year, the rest of your days not so good. You can't say, I don't want any change, but if you do change. Jim Clyburn is a political veteran. He is doing this for a reason. He is doing this for a reason. What's the reason? He has remained loyal to Biden. That's where he's buttered his bread. That's where he has made his political bones. That is, in recent times, I'm saying, not in general. Jim Clyburn is self-made. He certainly made in coalition with Black folk, not with Joe Biden, right? But in this moment, Clyburn is close to Biden, and he doesn't want to disrupt that, and he certainly doesn't want to undermine a campaign, because if you just keep saying, Biden, get out of here, and Biden ain't going nowhere, all you do is make him look weak. All you do is make him look bad to potential voters, certainly swing voters. So Clyburn don't want to do none of that. He doesn't want to be disloyal to Biden. He doesn't want to make Trump president. I get it. So why didn't say anything? Well, because he knows that something is imminent. Now, it might not be a withdrawal from the race. It might not be an exit, but there will at least be a significant push from within the party for that thing. And what Clyburn is trying to do is lay out the territory right now so that there won't be a coup. Let me put it differently. There are people who have already decided Biden ain't going to make it out of this thing, and they're trying to fight for position. They want Shapiro in there. They want Newsom in there. They want so-and-so in there. And so it's important for Clyburn to make clear, and I've been telling y'all this for weeks. Y'all didn't believe me. Just look in the last few days on this show, I've talked about this. There's going to be a push for Kamala Harris to be next up. and it makes sense. But there are going to be people out there, ambitious people out there, who are going to say Kamala Harris isn't polling well, she didn't poll well in the primary when she ran against Joe Biden, that there's no path to victory for Kamala Harris, and therefore we should already be looking to Kentucky. We should already be looking to California. We should already be looking to Pennsylvania. We should be looking to these states for leaders. We have to. Or maybe you do. If it was like an episode of Scandal, we pulling Hillary Clinton already. But the idea here is we got to do something, and so people are already playing chess here. They're saying, well, if Kamala's the heir apparent, then we bring this person in, we bring that person in, and the Kamala backers, people like Jim Clyburn, are saying, all right, if we replace Biden, y'all, some of y'all pushing to replace Biden because y'all want to be in the mix. Please, let's be clear. My support will be for Kamala Harris, not for anybody else. Now, you may say, well, Jim Clyburn ain't that powerful. As Jim Clyburn goes, South Carolina goes. As South Carolina goes, the black vote in the South just might go. So Jim Clyburn is already engaged in a war for the presidency on behalf of Kamala Harris. Now, Jim Clyburn don't waste words and he don't waste time. So the fact that Clyburn is doing this tells you that there is something going on. There's something afoot. There is somebody out there right now pushing hard for Biden to go. And despite the fact that Biden's family is saying they don't want to go, despite the fact that Biden's family has not accepted that he's part of the problem, that it's not just poor handlers and poor debate prep and poor questions from CNN, all that might be true. But it damn sure is that Joe Biden wasn't ready for that debate. Not because he doesn't know the information, but because maybe he wasn't cognitively ready, maybe because he wasn't physically ready. I don't know. He was under the weather with the cold. I don't know why, but we know that the last week has been terrible for the Biden candidacy, for the Biden presidency, for the Biden campaign. And because we know that, the sharks are circling, yo. The sharks are circling. And if the sharks circle, please understand, Kamala Harris is not new to this. This is not her first rodeo. She's already secured Jim Clyburn's endorsement and support. That's not a small thing, and that's not a coincidence. So I say all that to say, we are about to get into, we are about to engage, we are about to witness one of the craziest political summers in the history of this nation. Anyway, we'll be right back with more Night School. I got a couple things I got to get off my chest, man. A couple things that got me thinking, a couple things that got me frustrated. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. Stay right. Welcome back to Night School. It is a wonderful night here. I'm so glad to see so many of you live with me. You know, when we do it on time, which we do every night except tonight, I get about the same number of people that I have right now. So I'm glad to see all my old friends and some new friends here on the Night School channel. Make sure as you're sitting here on Night School that you also weigh into the conversation. Let me know in the chat, would a Kamala Harris presidency make you excited to vote? Or would you prefer a different candidate to take the top spot on the ballot? Again, would a Kamala Harris presidency make you excited to vote? If so, let me know in the chat. If not, let me know in the chat. And if there's somebody else you want, let me know. But be reasonable, y'all. Don't say nothing crazy. Don't say like Kanye West. You know, say somebody who's a Democrat and say somebody who can win, or say somebody who's independent who can caucus with the Democrats. I'm not telling you you have to vote Democrat. I'm simply saying if we're talking about replacing Biden, you're talking about replacing him probably with somebody in his own party. Seems reasonable. Anyway, y'all, we've been talking about a lot of changes going on in the world, and we certainly talked about the Supreme Court and how the Supreme Court has changed the game. The Supreme Court changing the game on issues like affirmative action, etc. They don't just impact people in an abstract level. This is not simply a hypothetical. No, the attacks on democracy, the attacks on the advances of the 60s and 70s have had a material impact on the lives of Black folk. Let's talk about it. By a show of hands, how many of y'all out there have a Black primary care physician? That's right. Put the little hand up in the chat if you have a Black primary care physician. Well, if you do, good. If you don't, maybe you should consider getting one. But either way, it's going to be hard to have one soon because anti-DEI laws are making it hard for medical schools to recruit and to retain doctors of color, specifically Black doctors, Hispanic doctors, and Native American doctors. Students from those groups are vastly underrepresented in the medical field, and the underrepresentation of Black folk and brown folk and indigenous folk, it leads to more severe, more intense health disparities. See, this is, again, no small thing. And I know sometimes we talk about this stuff like a small thing, but in 2023, it was huge when the Supreme Court demolished another long-standing precedent. I'm talking about decades of progress as well, when it struck down affirmative action on college admissions decisions. The conservative majority of the Supreme Court, mostly white, of course, declared that race could not be a factor. It forced public colleges and private colleges, public universities and private universities to find other ways of creating a diverse student body. Now, once the Supreme Court issued that ruling, laws restricting or banning DEI and DEI programs popped up in more than 24 states, more than 24. The Supreme Court's ruling against affirmative action is hurting efforts in Mississippi, for example, to recruit more doctors. More than 1 million people in Mississippi are Black. And you know, there are only 600 Black doctors? That's stunning to me. One study found that life expectancy was longer for Black patients who had access to Black doctors or Black primary care physicians. So some of y'all are like, all right, how do you thread this needle? How do you square these circles, Mark? How do you get from DEI to Black people dying at birth? Well, let me be clear. Black people are perpetually harmed by the medical establishment for decades, no, for centuries. We have been told that we're crazy. We've been told that we're physically built poorly, that we're cognitively built poorly. We've been told that we have higher, or at least been treated like we have higher pain thresholds. We are denied in pain medicine because people assume that we're drug addicts. And I mean, like, there's so many things that happen to us in general. Now, how do you address the fact that Black folk get treated so poorly in the hospital and in primary care situations? Actually, before I even tell you that, let's think about why it matters. It's not just that you have a bad experience. This isn't just like having a bad waiter. When you get bad healthcare treatment, when you get treated poorly by the doctor, when their bedside manner is awful, when there's racism and white supremacy undergirding the interaction, that means they don't hear us when we say we're hurting. That means they don't listen to us when we say that we have a condition or potentially have a condition. That means that they think we can bear more than we can. Those are the reasons partially why Black women die more at birth. And Black boys and girls die more at birth. And Black women die more giving birth. Now, how do you fix that? Well, part of how you fix that is by having more Black and brown doctors. Now, white people should treat us differently. White doctors should treat us the same as they treat all their patients. And there's a way that we have to work on that. And there's a way that culturally responsive, culturally specific, culturally centered continuing education should happen for doctors, so that white people are also held responsible for white supremacy, not just Black folk trying to be the healers of the world. But at the same time, another way to do it is to actually bring Black doctors into communities. People who know the illnesses, they know the culture, they know the language, they know the challenges, and they view them as human beings. That's what you want. That's been the plan. That's why we keep trying to bring more Black doctors along. That's why we try to create bridge programs and mentoring programs and all these things to create more Black doctors until the DEI police came out. Because now that the DEI police came out, everything is different. In 2023, the Supreme Court demolished another long-standing precedent and decades of progress when it struck down affirmative action in college admissions. As I said before, This is a problem. So if you strike down college admissions and you say, look, we're not going to be intentional or specific about producing or recruiting Black doctors, then you're going to have fewer Black doctors. Not because there was some lowered standard for Black doctors or Black medical school admissions. That's a lie. But because when you're intentional about recruiting Black people, you say, I want you on my campus. And then when they get on that campus, they have access to the networks and the supports and all the things that people have in these fancy universities. So being intentional about recruiting Black people or brown people or indigenous people is necessary. But we're not doing that anymore. We were unofficially kicking them out, unofficially making their lives difficult. But now with these new DEI laws, you can justify putting them out or ignoring them or not being race or cultural specific. This is the problem. This is the problem. And so now we have a pipeline that is fractured. So if you go to a place like Mississippi where there are 1 million Black people and literally 600 doctors, 600 Black doctors, and you know that Black doctors make you live longer if you're Black, you gotta ask yourself, why don't we just get more Black doctors? Why don't we just recruit more? Why don't we just be intentional about it? Well, this whole Supreme Court movement is to not be intentional about it, not because they believe that there's some real racism happening in DEI, not because they believe that recruiting Black doctors is an issue at the ethical or moral level. It's because they want their kids in those schools. They want their kid in the fancy business school. They want their kid to scrub in as an intern at some hospital associated with Harvard or Penn or whatever. This is what they want for themselves, and they don't want to be competing with Negroes who they believe don't belong. So the anti-DEI laws are about the collection of wealth, the accumulation and hoarding of wealth and opportunity by the 1%. It's also about white people policing race and policing the kind of conversations we can have about it. But the consequence isn't just ideological. It's not just that now all of a sudden we can't talk about race, or now all of a sudden there are fewer Black people. It means that we are not creating and strengthening and maintaining, sustaining the pipelines that get people into the medical field. And because those pipelines are being dismantled, we now will have even fewer doctors. If you have even fewer Black doctors, you have even fewer connections and even fewer supports and even fewer mitigators. And when all that happens, more people die. So I'm sure the right will skewer me for this for saying this, but yeah, when you cut DEI, you kill Black people. When you cut DEI programs or anything or something like them, you make life less livable for the most vulnerable people in the world. Just something to think about, y'all. Before we go, I got one more thing I need to talk to y'all about. I need to talk to y'all about something. So hang with me. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Night School, y'all. Woo, I got some good news for you. I guess it's not my objective journalist hat, but I don't care. I got some good news for y'all, man. Rudy Giuliani has been disbarred. Ooh, look at him. Look at this fool. Former New York City mayor. He's also a former Trump legal advisor. He's probably current Trump legal advisor. Rudy Giuliani was disbarred in New York today. Now that is effective right now, immediately. The Manhattan Appeals Court found Giuliani repeatedly perjured himself, and made false claims about Trump's 2020 election laws to Joe Biden, and is no longer allowed to practice law in the state because of his choices. The court wrote, the seriousness of respondents' misconduct cannot be overstated. They're saying that no matter how ridiculous we say your behavior was, we're not exaggerating. Giuliani, quote, violated some of the most fundamental tenets of the legal profession and, quote, actively contributed to the national strife that has followed the 2020 presidential election, for which he is entirely unrepentant. Woo! They got up in that ass, Rudy Giuliani. Ayo. Fact of the matter is, Rudy Giuliani is paying for a whole bunch of people's sins. Rudy Giuliani is paying for Donald Trump's lies and shenanigans. Rudy Giuliani is paying for a country that wanted to manufacture a hero out of him, only for him to slip further and further into crazy town over the last few years. He went from America's mayor to an unrecognizable ideologue. This is the problem with Rudy Giuliani. He is still connected to Trump. He needs to disconnect himself from Trump, talk shit about Trump, write a book about Trump. Whatever people do to get rid of Trump, you need to do that, Rudy Giuliani. But you don't want my medical advice. You don't want my legal advice. You don't want my financial advice. You don't think I ain't got nothing to offer you, Rudy Giuliani. I'll tell you something. I'm not the one going to jail. I'm not the one getting disbarred. I'm not the one losing money. I'm not the one losing reputation. All the different things that happen to Trump folk, some of them have happened to you. Some of them may happen in the future. But what I know for sure is that you was lying. Everybody knew on the stand you was lying. And that's why your perjury, your likely perjury, and how can I put it? Everybody heard you lying, Rudy Giuliani. Everybody know you perjured yourself, and you have no defense. It's really kind of that simple. Some of you said, isn't Giuliani already disbarred? Well, you know, he fought, he resisted. But it's not just about his legal career. Rudy Giuliani wasn't going to practice that much law anyway. It's the fact that on September 12, 2001, he was America's hero. He didn't deserve it then. He was human garbage then. But I'm just saying that we didn't know it. But I'm telling you something, man. TV is a mofo. Cable news, the need for storylines, the internet, all that stuff, it props people up. So we not only had this kind of larger than life Rudy Giuliani in our minds, we also had someone walking through the world thinking about, and Rudy Giuliani ran for president. Like, this is just craziness. But he did it. He was standing in front of a ridiculous parking lot with hair dye dripping down his chin. I mean, he went from America's mayor to like Better Call Saul. And that happened because he thought that it was wise to rock with Trump. He thought it was wise to stand next to Trump, and he learned that it is a terrible idea. So there's lessons here. You know, one of the lessons is just like stay away from Donald Trump. One is like you get what's coming to you, Rudy Giuliani, but him being disbarred is not enough. There has to be some kind of accountability process for all the harm he's done in the world because of his lies, because of his prosecutions, because of how he moved through the world. Like, you got to be able to talk about that and do something about it. And the fact that he's been disbarred shows that he's full of shit. And that the people who have some semblance of decency and dignity and ethics see it and are doing something about it. Anyway, Rudy Giuliani sucks, and I'm happy he was disbarred. So that's really the end of the story. All right, y'all. What a night we have had. Now, I'm sure I've done something wrong here. I see it now. Princess is going to cuss me out in the morning because I forgot to put the banner up that y'all are looking at right now at the bottom of the screen. I done did so many things wrong, but I'm going to tell you something. It's 1 a.m. I'm in my sleepy mode. I've been working 14 hours dealing with crises, and I still came out to see y'all. You know why? Because I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. And because I love and appreciate y'all, man, we had a good show. We had a good show. And the reason we had a good show is not just because of me, it's because of y'all. Y'all show up every single night and y'all build with me. Y'all talk to me and y'all talk to each other, man. I seen y'all in the comments getting busy, talking, laughing. Before I even got there, it almost seems as if y'all don't need me sometimes. You see Princess here, just she cannot. I did my best. I can't do it without you. I can't do it without you. You are the the Amanda Boston, excuse me, to my Caitlin Clark. She's gonna hate that. She's gonna hate that. Anyway, y'all, I love y'all so much. And I want to thank y'all for watching this show tonight. I really do. In addition to that, I want to encourage everybody watching to hit that like button right now, man. Look, we got hundreds of people watching live right now. Yes, yes, Rose Ability. I am trolling hard. I'm sorry. I said Aaliyah and then went to a man. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you. It's late. I'm tired. But I got Caitlin Clark's name right. I got the MVP's name right. Thank you. I got the MVP. As long as I get the MVP's name right, that's all that matters. I got the Rookie of the Year's name right. I got the greatest assist giver and greatest 3-point shooter in rookie history right. Isn't that right? Didn't I get that right? Didn't I get that right? By the way, on some real basketball stuff though, man, these WNBA battles are getting really, 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 really interesting. The Rookie of the Year race, man, I think my girl Angel Reese might have passed my girl Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year as of right now. Them 10 double-doubles is hitting. You know, Caitlin got some high turnovers and some other things. She's just had a good stretch. Wouldn't it be interesting if after all of that, Angel Reese got the Rookie of the Year, or if they do like Jason Kidd and Grant Hill did and they split it? That would be perfect. If they got a co-MVP situation, that would be so amazing. That would be so amazing. I would rather see Angel Reese win, you know, and keep that fire going. You said they're gonna be mad if they give it to Angel. Let me tell you something, Angel of Redemption. They are going to be very unhappy. When I say they, I mean white people, I mean black men, I mean white people in general. I mean, there's this really interesting convergence. It's the same thing with Donald Trump, where you got like black men who just doesn't think white people's ice is colder, and then you got black men who think white people's ice is colder, and then you got like regular racist white men who come together around Donald Trump and Caitlin Clark. And it ain't Caitlin Clark's fault. Right? I'm not saying Caitlin's like Donald Trump, but it is interesting who keeps converging and how black folk keep converging around the just very particular things. Anyway, no extra charge for all of that, y'all. I just had to tell y'all. I had to tell y'all. Somebody, people getting mad. Look, I'm just telling you the truth, man. I ain't seen nobody close ranks around Caitlin Clark faster than MAGA people and my people. I'm talking about. I mean, and I like Caitlin Clark, but I'm talking about black people. If before Miss Caitlin came, there wasn't no basketball in the WNBA. Before Miss Caitlin came, we didn't have no. It wasn't worth watching. There was only 3 people in the stadium. They didn't have no private jets. I'm fascinated by y'all, man. I'm fascinated by you niggas, man. I'm fascinated by it. But anyway, wait. So what somebody say? Uh-oh. Oh, y'all like, okay. I'm not lying, though. I'm not lying. Anyway, I'm going to shout out a couple people before I go because I don't want to cause no trouble. Erica B is in the building. I like the emoji, the profile pic of that art that you have as a profile pic. Thank you for joining the channel. We really, really appreciate it. Jazz LP, who, by the way, is Dallas's finest. Shout out to Dallas. Y'all just got the great Klay Thompson, even though he's 107 years old. You say you're not getting alerts. We're gonna make sure you get them alerts. That's a YouTube thing. I think you can link in, but y'all let me know in the chat. Are y'all getting alerts when I go live? Are y'all getting all the information that I'm giving out? You know, I don't know if it's a Jazz thing or if it's a channel thing. And if it's a Jazz thing, we'll fix it for you. So Jazz, you're one of our favorites. But I'm just trying to figure that out. I want to shout out C Priscilla 22, who's been a member now for 2 months. Yo, if you are a member out there and you just joined or you've been a member for more than a month, either way, we're grateful. Whether you just got here, you've been here. Thank you. And I got to shout out my man, Chad Zichterman. I got to shout out my man, Chad Zichterman. Every month he come through with his tithes and offerings. He just gifted 50 channel memberships. That means 50 y'all gonna get a membership to the channel for the month. Yo, you don't know how dope this is. You don't know how fire that is. Chad, thank you, my brother. And I know I promised you a segment that we're gonna get together around legal issues in relation to Palestine. Um, but beyond that, Chad, I just thank you for your generosity, y'all. Y'all see this? And there's a reason why Chad is doing this. It's because he loves us and because he wants to support the channel because he's a generous, wonderful dude. But he's also looking at the calendar. He's looking at the calendar and he sees, excuse me, that it's the top of the month. And if you don't know, here on the channel at the top of the month, man, we pay bills. You know, we are building a channel with such great talent. I have put together a full team of amazing people, including Princess, including others. But like, you know, you don't get a genius like Princess. You don't get someone as talented as Princess, who's a master of everything except, you know, except for her strange attachment to those Gamecocks down south. You know, she could have picked Temple. She could have picked Duke, my one of my favorite college teams. USC Gamecocks, nah, not going to be able to do it. All that said, she's extraordinary. And we can't get extraordinary people without your support. We can't get extraordinary people without a financial foundation. And most people who have these podcasts, you'll look and see that they have big names behind them, whether it's, you know, liberal media or conservative media. They got a big name behind them. They have a billionaire writing a check. They have a corporate outlet supporting them. We don't have those things here on Night School. Night School is on the muscle. Night School is me and you, your mama and your cousin too. And the only way we can build this thing up is with your support. Part of how you support us is by hitting the like button. Again, there's hundreds of people online and not hundreds of likes. Hit the like button. This doesn't cost you anything. Hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. We want to expand our footprint, and the way to do that is to have a lot of subscribers and a lot of engagement. And y'all do so much. I just want y'all to subscribe so other people can subscribe, so we can take some of the burden off of you. And of course, if you're so inclined, hit that join button. When you hit the join button, what happens? You become a monthly member. If you don't see a join button, it's because you're on your handheld phone, you're on your Galaxy or your iPhone or whatever. Instead of that, what I want you to do is go to your desktop and then hit the join button. And for as low as $3.99 a month, you can be a part of this channel as a member. The member, it gives you early access, it gives you exclusive access, and it gives you extended access. Being a channel member allows us to build and grow, to pay for editing and to pay our staff and to do all the things that networks do. But again, we need your support. So please hit the join button if you're so inclined. And if you're already joined, consider moving up a level. Consider moving up one level. It'll cost you a couple bucks difference, but it means the world to us when you all do it. And of course, if you can't make a monthly commitment, I would ask you all to consider making a one-time a one-time commitment. Go to Cash App, go to PayPal, go to Venmo, go to Zelle, and pay the tuition for Night School for the month. All I'm asking for is $10. If you're making a one-time payment, go to Cash App, go to PayPal, go to Venmo right now, go to Zelle, and drop $10. $10 from all y'all watching right now. If everybody watching right now would have just dropped $10, and I don't mean just like it's not a lot of money, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me anyway, but I'm broke as the 10 Commandments. But give us an opportunity to produce and create and share and learn from independent media, courageous media, Black media, radical media, left-wing media. But to do that, we need your support again. So if everybody watching could drop $10 in, we would meet all of our financial goals for the week and probably for the month. And if you can't do 10, do less. If you can do more, please do. We're asking for your support, family. But if you can't do it, again, we understand. In the meantime, family, I'm going to bed because I'm old and tired. I got things to do. I'm exhausted. I haven't even eaten dinner yet, but I wanted to see y'all, and I'm going to keep seeing y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we got a good one for you. We got the news of the day, but we got a big debate. We got a big debate with somebody. You ain't gonna want to miss this, y'all. So please keep watching the channel, and I will see you all soon. Love y'all. Peace.